All right, recording is started. So thank you all for meeting with me today. Today we're going to be going through the portal training. Quick overview of who am I? My name is JC Grooms. I'm a solutions consultant with Beyond20. I've been working in development for Sharewell, or in Sharewell for about 5 years, a little over 5 years, in ServiceNow for a little over 3 years. Fun fact about me is that well, I haven't flown in a while. I am a licensed private pilot with an instrument rating. So moving right along into the agenda, today we're going to take a look at logging into the portal, reviewing the menu items at the top of the portal, going through and demonstrating the sections of the dashboard of the portal, demonstrating the service catalog and how to utilize it, as well as how to create incidents and service requests from within the portal. And then finally, if there's any time left, we'll do some Q&A. Also, if you do want to ask questions throughout, please feel free to stop me. Just let me know if you have any questions. I do want to bring up this, and this section was sent to all of you, I believe, as well. Just a quick, what is the class versus what is not the class? So this class is an opportunity for portal users to interact with the Sharewell system and understand how they use it on a day-to-day basis. It's also an opportunity for attendees to get familiar with default dashboards and workspace, as well as to ask any questions you may have. And what this class is not. So this class is not a design session. When we get to the end user training, the system, and we get to the portal training, the system has already been agreed upon and designed as requested. Any request for change to functionality can be captured for a later phase. It's not a process improvement session. A company representative who can answer process-specific questions will be in attendance for this to answer why the city of Pittsburgh may perform processes in a certain way. This is also not a UAT session. As mentioned before, the system is complete and tested before these training sessions. All right. So let's get into, I guess before we get into anything else, anyone have any starting questions? All right, perfect. Now, you should have received a link to the City of Pittsburgh portal. Do you all have that link? It was in the invite. It's a better question. Does anyone not have this link? Okay, good. If you can go ahead and navigate to this link. This is going to be somewhat interactive, and so we just want to make sure that everyone is seeing the same things and kind of where you're focusing your attention, kind of things. So to begin with, this is going to be your login page. The first thing that we want to talk about is, well, how do you log in? And really, you've got two ways once you're on this page. And I'm going to have to refresh my page. It's been sitting for too long. But you do have this login button right here. This is probably going to be your primary login. You also have a login button in the upper right-hand corner. But for now, I'm going to click this login button. It's now going to connect to your Active Directory, your SAML, and you'll be able to choose, you'll be able to log in with your network account. So I don't have a network account, and so I'm not able to log into your system. However, I do have a backend Sharewell account. So please let me know if you're able to log in. Well, I guess once again, if you're not able to log in, we do want to make sure that everyone's seeing all of this, that you are able to click through this while we go through this. Okay. Hearing no issues logging in, we'll move on to the next agenda item, and that's going to be reviewing the menu items at the top of the portal. So at the very top of the portal right here in the upper left-hand side, we have 4 items here. We've got home, my items, service catalog, and knowledge articles. These are fairly straightforward. Well, hopefully they will be. The names are fairly straightforward anyway. Your home button is going to bring you back to this main dashboard page. So everything you see here. Your my items, which are going to be items that are related to you. Your service catalog, this is the service catalog that you have provided. And finally, your knowledge articles. Your knowledge articles do include a search. And one thing I want to bring up as well is if we click back home, we also have this knowledge, search knowledge-based articles. Now the 2 searches here are the same. And so when we click on knowledge articles, just allows us to see a couple more items like global issues with a workaround, with no workaround, and then the most used knowledge articles. And so if I want to do a search on this, I can certainly type in something like PDF, click go, and it will bring up knowledge articles. And we can see that these ones that are brought up are related to Adobe Acrobat 9, which all are related to PDF.
It looks like the titles for these articles are in white.
Yeah, these are currently in white unless you hover over them.
I'm sorry, unless you have what?
So the statement that was brought up is it looks like the article titles are in white, and so we can see they are. If you hover over them, you can see they are in blue.
Is that typical that you're not able to see anything unless you hover over it?
It really depends, and that would have been that's one of those things that would have gone through UAT. So I would direct that to Sylvia, Ian, or Dolly. It looks like Dolly, you're on. Sylvia, you're on as well. It looks like I don't know if Ian is on.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
We've got this noted.
Okay.
We'll try to address that.
Yeah, this is Dolly. I'm on, but I'm only on by phone, so I can't. I'm not on the system. But I think we should note that on the. It may be something we have to address from a backlog perspective.
All right. So the other item I want to show, well, I guess before I go any further, any other additional questions about these 4 menu items right here? Okay, give me just a moment here. I need to pause my sharing here, and I'll bring it right back up.
I'm so sorry, JC. When you say these 4 menu items right here, I didn't see you pointing to anything. Which 4 menu items are you referring to? Oh, I see. Okay.
The home, my items, service catalog, and knowledge articles.
Got it. Thank you.
I apologize if I may have circled them. I may have not pointed to them, so my apologies. The other item I want to bring up is in the upper right-hand corner. You should see your name up here, and you do have the option for new browser window to view your profile as well as to log out right here. So those are the menu items. Are there any questions regarding those?
Could you explain the difference again between the service catalog or I'm sorry, you just said that the knowledge articles, that search was somewhere else?
Yeah. Yep. So knowledge articles. So this is your home screen right here. Like home. We have these search knowledge based articles. So that same search that I did before, if I want to do a search right here, here's your same list of knowledge articles that we saw before. It is the same search
Gotcha.
as we clicked on the knowledge articles.
Okay,
And
thank you.
yeah, and then it seemed like you're kind of going to what's the difference between the service catalog and the knowledge articles as well, and I can touch base on that. The knowledge articles are going to be basically bits of information that your internal users have created, so your internal IT department have created for use. So oftentimes, like typical things that might have resolve printing issues. That might be a common item that you want to create a knowledge article so that users have the ability to come look at the issue and how to resolve it before putting in a ticket saying I have a printer issue. Your service catalog then is going to be where you come in to actually kind of create a request. And so things like, so if I go into account management and specific to what we're looking at here, if I'm having trouble with Sharewell getting access to it, maybe I want to come into this Sharewell account management and then add or remove an account. Similarly, if I go into the desk phone, fax, mobile phone, and hotspot, and I want to make or receive calls on my desk, maybe I'll click the desk phone. So the service catalog is more of things that you can request or services you can request. The knowledge articles are more of, I have a question and I'm not sure what to look for or how to fix it. But like I said, maybe my question is regarding, I have a PDF issue. And my question is really, I want to show comment and markup toolbar. And so I can go into this knowledge article, and then this will have the information, hopefully, that you're looking for. It does have the option here as well to say if this resolved your issue or not. So you do have the ability to add a comment as well. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So now I want to take a look. The next item on our agenda is to go through the sections of the dashboard page of the portal. And before I do that, just want to make sure that while I'm going through these, you guys are you guys clicking along with this? So one thing I guess if you want to try is go into the knowledge articles and do a search. You may not always find what you're looking for, but things like PDF or test, there are items in there for. So these are just test create knowledge articles, and then you can drill down into them to take a look.
I have a question. What happens if you add a comment to a knowledge article? Is that accessible to anybody else who has access to the knowledge articles? Is there an action item? Like, what if your comment is, this procedure is completely wrong, here's the updated way to do this? How do you communicate that?
Yeah, so if you add a comment, adding the comment will go directly to the internal team. So the internal team will see it. That won't be accessible from like other customers, other people using the portal won't be able to see that. But internally, they'll be able to see it and hopefully resolve it or get back to you with the information. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And one of the things too is you can always click did this resolve your issue? No, and you can enter in a comment here as well. Please tell us why this article didn't help you resolve your issue. None of this is right. update. Here's a Google link. And then what this does is it'll create an actual incident. So that'll create a ticket for the internal team to take a look at it. What this also does then is if we look under, and we see this is 103.886. If we look under my items, we see the 103.886. So it creates a ticket that you're then able to come back and see the status of. And so we can see right here, it's got a knowledge article, that it's a knowledge article, the ID of the knowledge article, that it didn't resolve your issue, and then whatever you put into it. And so you can actually then track the progress of what's the status of it. Currently it's unassigned, and then see where along the process it is. And if it's, you can also add an additional comment to it if you'd like. Maybe your additional comment is, oops, I was wrong. This did fix it. And then that'll be added as well. Does that make sense? All right. I will take your silence as acceptance. And if it's not, please let me know.
I'm sorry, so where were you when you entered that incident? I'm looking at that at the screen you've got up now, and I'm looking through and trying to figure out where I would go to enter an incident like that.
Yeah, so that particular incident was knowledge-based related only. So from there, basically the process on that and how we would do that in Sharewell is, or when you would come up to the situation specifically, is that basically I've looked up a knowledge article. It's this show comment markup tool. So I'm within, I've clicked this knowledge articles on the top menu.
Right.
I've searched for PDF. And this is what I really want to do is like, I'm trying to figure out a way to show the comment and markup toolbar. And so I've read this knowledge article, and what I found is that this knowledge article didn't help me at all. That maybe the information in it's wrong. It says Adobe Acrobat 9, maybe I need Adobe Acrobat 11, but this knowledge article specifically didn't resolve my issue, and I want to say something about it. I want to report it. And so down here we have this. Did this resolve your issue? And so what we did on that is we said no. And then we're prompted with this, please tell us why this article did not help you resolve your issue.
I see.
And then we entered because it's just not right.
Right. So it was within the knowledge articles. It wasn't from that homepage. Got it.
Right. No, and we'll go through how to create an incident from the homepage as well. This is just showing what happens if I click this. And it just tells us thank you for your feedback. And there, I've already put in a request on this, and so there wasn't a small error there. So there's already a request that I have working for it, this specific one. And then after that, we went to my items here, and then open incidents right here. And I'll go more in depth to this entire page here in just a few moments. But this was the ticket that was created, this 103.886 that says that knowledge article ID. So the people working on this ticket know what issue that you had. It didn't resolve your issue, and then your comments that you put in here. That none of this is right. Please update this. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
Yeah, not a problem. And very similarly, we could have done the exact same thing through this search knowledge-based articles right here. So if I want to, I'm just going to put in test. We click on a knowledge article. I just click on the first one I saw. You can also click the did this resolve your issue? No. Or yes. So if we click yes here, it just says that this has been used by our customers then. And one moment here. What that will then do is then right here, you can see that this article has been used one time by a customer. And that's what that yes does, is saying that someone else has said that this article has helped them. So it kind of gives basically more confidence in the knowledge article. All right. Any more questions on where we've gone so far? Okay. So now let's take a look at the different sections of the dashboards that we have here. And so we've gone over these menu items here. Very similar to the one thing I want to point out here is when you click the City of Pittsburgh icon up here, this also acts as a home button. And so if I'm on my items, for instance, and I click the City of Pittsburgh, it does bring me back to my home screen here. So your main screen here, this is called a dashboard. Your dashboard contains, you've got your background picture. It says welcome to your self-service portal. As we talked about, you do have the search knowledge-based articles right on your homepage. Should make it easy for anyone to search for knowledge articles. Another thing you have right here is going to be your announcements. Now, most of the items on here do have the ability to click further into. So they have drill downs. And so if we wanted to see a little bit more about the announcement, we see that OneDrive is now set up. This was modified on July 30th at 9:56. We can see a little more information here, but I really want to make sure that I'm seeing everything. So I can click on it and I can see the moving forwards, it looks like, please use Microsoft OneDrive for security storing documents. Test option here. If you do try to edit this, you won't be able to as well. This is for the internal side only. So I'm going to go ahead and click back to my home. And one of the nice things too is that any kind of new announcements will show up here as well. And you can also click further into them if you don't think you're seeing everything or you want to see more. You do have that ability to as well. Now, if we scroll down a little bit, we've got a few of these icons here. We've got email issue, network issue, printer issue, all of these kind of items. And these are going to be just kind of like your quick, these are some things that are pretty typical to ask for. And so if I have a printer issue, for instance, it's going to bring me to submit an incident. Now, one thing you can do on here is you can submit this on behalf of another user. And so maybe your cubicle neighbor, if you guys are in the office, is having an issue but isn't near their computer, you do have the ability to submit on behalf of them. And then you're going to want to give a description of what the issue that you're having here. And so in this case, I'm having a printer issue. Does this prevent you from doing your work? Yep. Does this affect multiple users? For this case, we'll say no, assuming it's just a desktop printer. Going to submit this. It does say your incident has been added to the Sharewell system, and then it gives you an ID number. Now, this is a public ID number, and so this is what you'll use to communicate about your incident. So once again, if I go under my items and I go under open incidents here, we can see right here that I do have this ticket. And I just want to make sure, are you guys able to hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I just got a notification from Teams that says the audio quality might be questionable. So I just wanted to double check. So once again, we do have the ability to click on that to get more information. We can add a comment here and then see the status of it right here. We can also see, one thing I didn't point out is the estimated response time. And so this is based on a service level agreement. So this is how soon that the service desk expects to have a response out to you. And so it's looks like in 2 days' time, a response should be given for this. So that was the printer issue. I do want to take a look at one or two of these other ones here. If we look at mobile phone request, we can see that this is going to be more of a service request rather than an incident. And the difference being that an incident is more of something is broken. A request is more of, I would like to order something from one of your services, or in this case, a mobile phone. So it could be physical objects, it could be just a service itself. But the service catalog itself is, if you think of it as the basically IT's restaurant menu. That's what the intention of a service catalog is it's going to show you in a readable way what items are available. And we'll talk a little bit about that more when we get to service catalog. So on the request mobile phone, we do have, once again, to submit this on behalf of another user. Now, this one is going to be different. So when you do your requests and incidents, you may see different forms based on what you're requesting. And the reason for that is IT is trying to collect additional information that you may not be putting in the description. And so they're calling it out specifically so that you get what you need faster. So in this case, what type of device do you need? Well, I need an Android device. Is this a new or replacement device? Well, my other one's smashed in the rock, so I need a replacement. And then who will be using this? This will be an existing employee, and you can select exactly who the employee is. Once again, we get this message saying that the service request has been added, so very similar to the other one. Before it said your incident has been added. This is a service request, and it gives the identification. I'm going to take a step back once again into my items. Now, we saw that that was a service request. And so before we had been going into open incidents. In this case, we're going to go into the open service request. Because once again, that was a service request, not an incident. We were requesting something new. We were requesting something that our IT department does for us. It's not anything that's broken necessarily. And we can see that that mobile phone request is right here. Very similar to the incident. We can add a comment. We can see the status. We can see if it's currently unassigned. And we also have an estimated response. Now, note when you see these estimated response, they may be different depending on what you're requesting, whether it be an incident or a service request. It may be more or less time. In this case, it's saying estimated response is the 16th of December. And remember that incident that we were looking at earlier, that the printer is broken, had an estimated response of, I believe, 2 days. And the reasons for that can vary. It may be that for the request mobile phone, it takes additional time to procure. It could mean that approvals need to happen behind the scenes. So there's a lot of different factors in why that estimated response time might be different.
Excuse me, I had a question. For that response time, does the system update it automatically? So say I request a phone and it takes a week, and then someone else requests a phone and it takes 3 weeks. Does it then average out to say roughly 2 weeks, or does it say a week to 3 weeks? Like, does the system update that time frame automatically?
It does not update that time frame automatically out of the box. It might be able to with some additional development, but basically what that time frame is the idea of it is it's an agreed upon measure of time between IT and the customer of this is when you can expect a response from us on. And typically SLAs are they've had these many times before, and this is the amount of time it typically takes. Just to give you, so you're not worried that it's been a week and you haven't heard anything. Well, if I look at that SLA, well, I've got until the 18th, and if it's after that, maybe then I want to re-come back and be like, hey, I saw that there was the estimated time frame was the 18th. But keep in mind that may also be an estimated time only, so that's not a guaranteed time. That really depends on your internal processes. And once again, that's going to be something that like Sylvia or Ian or Dolly might be able to answer on what to expect on that. I can just give you the kind of broad best practices of what it's used for.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Any other questions so far? Okay. Moving right along. So like I mentioned, these are going to be likely your most typical items that you may want to request or you may have an issue with. We do have here a button to the service catalog. It's going to function exactly the same as your menu item. So we click service catalog here, we're still on the same page. So it's just another option to get to your service catalog. Because there's services and incidents here, having a button right here just kind of makes sense. So that's just another way, if you've forgotten what your top menu items are, that you're able to click on this, this button down here. Very similar to like when we looked at the knowledge articles, we have the knowledge search right here. A lot of times in really any ITSM tool, whether it be Sharewell or ServiceNow, they're going to provide you a lot of ways to do the same thing. And so this is the same type of case. There's many ways to do the same thing. If we go into like desk phone, mobile phone, and then mobile phone right here, we can see we also have the request mobile phone. And now this is the same exact request form that we were just looking at before when we submitted that mobile phone request. So once again, it's just another way to do it. You can go through the service catalog. You can use through either of the service catalog ways by clicking it in the top menu items, or by clicking it on that button we saw below. And then this specific catalog item, as we saw, we can get through by going through the service catalog. And we'll spend some more time on the service catalog here in just a little bit. Just first want to get through this home screen first. So the last items on the home screen are going to be these major incidents. And currently the system does not have any major incidents. So these might be things that the service desk has identified is a very large item. Maybe the network is down, could be a major incident, or maybe just a lot of people are having the same issue. Maybe there's an issue with a software license for Adobe or something. That could be a major incident. And that's going to really depend on, once again, your internal processes. Notifications. This is going to be similar to announcements, just really not necessarily as big as announcements. So in this one, we can see, once again, as we saw before, that we can drill down into it and we see that stuff is down, things aren't working right now. So that's really not a good thing to see, but hopefully you do see it and you can continue on with what you need to. We also see some other ones here, like mail server installation beginning January 1st, 2020. You'll be installing a new mail server. You may experience some credential authentication problems. If you're experiencing anything, please contact the support team. So just really a quick method to view kind of what's going on internally for what, it's just another communication method, basically. Now, these could be used in conjunction with emails. It could be used in conjunction with other communication methods that your internal team has. That really depends, once again, on those internal processes. Now, over here on the far right, we have contact the service desk. Now, this is going to be one of those items, the few items on the dashboard that's not really clickable. And the reason is because this is just standard, typical information. If you look at most portals, if you go to Amazon, you'll have there's a contact us. And so that's really what this is this is a contact us. How do you call us? What do you do if you need assistance off hours? What do you do if you have an emergency? What do you do if you have a password request? Those type of items. So once again, just really if you go to like any other site, you'll have a contact us button somewhere on the page. This is just providing you that service desk contact information. Any questions on this? And just once again, I'm going to double check, making sure everyone's able to follow along live with me. They're able to see this. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Perfect. Now, I don't know if you just saw, but these two items just came up with a quick circle. And the reason for that is that these do refresh periodically on their own. And so when you're seeing these items, you are getting the most up-to-date information. I don't recall what the refresh rate on yours is, but it's typically every few minutes. So it's pretty quick that you're going to get that information, whether it be a new major incident comes in or a new notification has come in. And then once again, this far right-hand side is going to be more static. All right. So the next thing I'd like to talk about here, and it's kind of the next thing on the agenda, but I'm going to go through each of these menu items and what's in it, is going to be the service catalog. Now, we had started to talk about kind of what is a service catalog, and this is kind of more a general statement, is that basically your service catalog is going to be your restaurant's menu item. What are the things in a readable format that IT offers? And so in this one, we can see it's account management, application software, consulting services. And then we also have a brief description underneath it. Now, when we go through our service catalog, we're not going to show you everything that has to happen on the back end. right? Because as a customer, you don't necessarily care. You don't care, just like when you go to a restaurant, you don't necessarily care who's going to be the head chef, who's the maitre d', is it a sous chef or the actual chef that's grilling your food. What you really care about is that you get your food the way that you had ordered it. And so that's the intention of a service catalog, is to be, here's what I want as a customer, and just see the things that you actually need. So when we went into the desk phone, fax, and mobile, we can see very specifically, I need a desk phone, a fax, mobile hotspot, or a mobile phone here. Now, behind each of these, there may be a major workflow behind it. They may require approvals. They may have to go through a procurement. You may have to come from a warehouse. But as a customer, you really don't care about that. And so all I want is, I want a mobile hotspot. Down here, we see another description of what it is. We can see that I'm in the desk phone, fax, mobile phone, and hotspot. And we can see what that is. So this is the first thing that we clicked. Then we go on to our mobile hotspot. And then we see here, the only choice I have is to request a mobile hotspot. Once again, we do have a description of what that is. So in this case, a service request is submitted to request equipment and services. And we do come back to this. So we're requesting a hotspot, what type of device we need. Well, I want just a hotspot. I don't want to hotspot my Android phone. And maybe I'd like a new one. And let's see, this will be for an existing employee. And here's where you could select, you can search for your name. This is just a list of all employees that are within the Sharewell system. So I'm going to choose one at random here and submit. Once again, this was a request. So it does give me my request ID. It explains that I've created this. It's been added to the Sharewell system. And we can see it, the ID number here. By default, we are directed then back to the home screen, where we can see, once again, the typical items are typically the requests or incidents. But I'm going to navigate back to the service catalog. Now, we also have the opportunity to do a search here. So I'm going to do a search. I'm just going to type in phone. We can see the first items that come up are desk phone, fax, and mobile hotspot. In this case, I want a desk phone. And we can see under desk phone, we do have two items here. We have the ability to request a telephone or submit an incident. And so once again, submitting an incident is that something is broken, and requesting the telephone, obviously requesting the telephone. In this case, we once again see that the form is a little bit different. We can select for existing. And then, so when I click that, I just want to re-click that here. I want you to be aware of this message too. So what happened was I went through this very quickly. I said I wanted for this employee. I didn't look at the rest of the form. And then this message came up. It says required fields need to be completed. Please complete all required fields in order to submit your incident or service request. So if I scroll down here, I can see additional information that I need to add. So where is this employee located? Is this existing or vacant phone number to assign? Now we can see that these are mandatory by the asterisk. There is additional information here that we can add if you would like. So enable call forwarding. You don't have to. What would you like on the display? Does this phone need a voicemail, etc. So we do have additional items here. Now, one thing I do want to point out is that, and I'm not sure if your organization has any, but some may have that a file attachment is required. If you do need to attach a file, it's just going to be this paperclip up here. Then once we've created everything, once again, we click the submit
JC?
button. Yep.
I'm sorry if I missed this. What is the white space on the bottom of the screen? There's like a separate panel.
Yeah, it's just kind of a separate panel. Let's see if we can, I'm not sure if we can drag that from here or not. Yeah, I don't think so. But there could be additional information down here. In this case, there's not.
And if you exit without submitting, like if a user starts filling out the form and they have to leave real quick for any reason, it gives them the option of saving, so they can save what they originally put in and come back and fill out the rest later. Is that correct?
You still have
no?
to, yes, you still have to fill out all of the additional mandatory information. And so by clicking the save button specifically, I can see what additional mandatory fields I have. And so the request location and the existing vacant phone number must be filled in, which are these two fields. So you do have to fill in the required fields before it's saved. If you submit a ticket that has all the required fields but it's not yet complete, the service desk will still get it as is and will assume that it is as complete as needs to be, unless you've specified somewhere that it's not.
So if you hit the home button from where you're at before submitting, there's another box that comes up.
Yeah, that's just, you want to save.
Oh, so it's the same thing. So if you say yes, it's still going to require you to put the required fields in. Got it.
Exactly. Just the other error saying the same thing.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep. And I do apologize for this error message in specifically because you can see that it says desk phone employee location and then the field specifics, desk phone request existing. Unfortunately, there's no way to change these error messages, so they can be a little confusing. But what you're really looking for is going to be after the dot. This is going to be the field name. It may not be exactly the same as what you see on your fields here, but it should be close to it. So let's take a look. Where is the employee located? So the first one is saying employee location. And so this is what it's referring to. The second one we can see after the period is existing vacant phone number. And that's going to be this field right here. So what this is actually showing you is specifics is basically an embedded form within Sharewell. So if you select certain information, you may get an embedded form. And then the field name afterwards. So this is going to be the backend field name. So while the label may be different here and intended to be easier to read, the back end of it is just employee location. So that makes sense. Okay. So I'm going to click the cancel. It asks me if I want to abandon my changes. I'm going to click yes. Let's go through one more of these. So the top level service is going to be our services. So printers, all customers wanting to request a desktop printer, please refer to your department liaison or BRM for further details. In this, we do have desktop or network. So if you have AMCOM services or ITSM service management. So in this category, you have the ability to request a subcategory of that, which is submit an incident, request a new printer, or request access to a network printer. And we can see up here as well, this is the path that I want. These are breadcrumbs, so I can go back to them. So we can say I'm in the service catalog, I then click printers, I then click network, and that's how we're here. Well, maybe I've determined I didn't really want a network, and so I'm going to click printers again, and I want to do desktop. So it does have the breadcrumbs up here as well. Then if we wanted to do a specific search within desktop, we could here as well, or we can just read. Depends on how you'd like to approach it. Does that make sense? Okay. The next item I would like to go through here is going to be the My Items. So we've kind of gone through how do I create an incident? How do I create a service request? We haven't gone through this page specifically. And so I want to take some time in going through what these items are. So each of these pages, the My Items, the Home, Knowledge Articles, these are all dashboards. And within it, we have the ability to click further, drill down into the items. So if we see Open Service Request, we go and click it, we can see that these are all the service requests that I have created that are assigned to me. So if I click on this one, for instance, this was the last service request that I did. The request was for a hotspot. By default, the detailed description is just that it was submitted by whoever it was submitted by. In this case, my account name is the CO Pittsburgh CSD admin, and we can see that it was submitted via the portal. Once again, we do have the estimated response time for the request for a hotspot. In this case, it appears to be the same as the request for a mobile device, which would be can expect a response on the 16th. We can see the status is in new status. It's not currently assigned to anyone. It's not in progress, not resolved, it's not closed. I do have the opportunity here to add a comment as well. Excuse me. If I want to add edit here, and I just want to make sure, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go right back into it here. Just want to make sure that everyone saw right clicked. We do have the ability to edit the current item. So if I wanted to add something here, maybe that is for the Farewell Clear Conference. Oops. And then save it. We can see that that has added to the description. So it might be that there wasn't enough information. You just want to make sure that you have the service that has all the information they need. And so in this case, they can see that this is, I'm going to a conference and that's why I need it. Maybe what that means is that when I come back, I no longer need it and I can return it. Something like that. Does that make sense?
I have a question. What is the difference between editing the main request and adding a comment?
Sure. The edit will go directly into the detailed description. It just depends on where it's going to be seen. So I can also, as you mentioned, I can add a comment. There's my comment. And we can see this brings up comments down here. So this is still added to it. It's just changing where it's added to it. So this is going to then go back to your internal processes of what should you do versus what should you not do. In the back end, this is what's called a journal. Your service desk will be able to see your journals or any changes to the description. Typically, they may not see a change in the description right away. In a journal, they might, because it may be required out of the box in Sharewell, it's required to mark your journal entry as read or not, and so it'll show up a little bit differently. So the difference between add a comment and editing the detailed description is going to be how it shows up on the back end. And how you want it to show up, once again, I would defer to Sylvia, Ian, or Dolly if you have a specific preference on if users should be able to edit, should edit the detailed description or to add a comment. That would be more of a process question. Does that sort of answer your question?
Yes, thank you. So if the technician and the user are going back and forth and corresponding, that is viewable in the journal section down below on the screen, is that right?
Yeah. Yep, it'll be added here, as well as typically it'll be through email as well. So there are multiple ways that it could be viewable. All right. Now, give me 1 sec. It looks like Eric has sent a message. What if I need other team help on the ticket? So I guess I'm not 100% sure what you mean by that, Eric. Typically, the who will help you is going to be determined by the service desk. And if they need to escalate it, then they would do so from the back end. So that's going to be one of those items that from a customer perspective, you shouldn't need to see. It's going to be more of what happens on the back end. How do people do it? Does that answer your question, Eric?
So let me take a stab at that one. What I suspect Eric is talking about is, because here we're talking about it from the customer's perspective. So Eric actually would be a user. And if he, he's web team and a request comes in and he needs something, say, from infrastructure, how would he do that? And that would be something that, to your point, is set differently, dependencies on the ticket and that type of thing. That's going to be, I believe, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, part of tomorrow's training. So that's it. Is that it, Eric? I'll take that last yes as a yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Sylvia.
Sure.
All right. So looking back at the My Items, one thing I do want to point out is that if you are trying to drill down, if you click on the letters here, it's not going to drill down. And the reason for it is basically these are just labels. The actual drill down is going to be the number. And so just make sure that if you want to open incidents, for instance, you're trying to double click this, it's not going to go anywhere. And so if we click the number here, though, we're going to be able to see my open incidents. And these incidents are only, what you're seeing is the only ones that you have created as the logged in user. So in this case, this is the logged in user I am. These are the only incidents that I'm able to see. Similar to the request, I have the ability to take a look. It says I'm having a printer issue. You can see the estimated response time. This one's 2 days. Similar to before, we have the edit button here. We also have the refresh button here. There is a delete button, but that is unavailable to end users. We can attach items. And then we can view things in a list view. So going to the list view will just show you the results in the list. You can also go into a grid view to view the results in the grid. And so it really depends on preference on how you want to view them. I personally prefer viewing things in a grid view. I think it's just easier to see, but you can go either route. And that is when you are in the list and grid view, these are showing up here as well. And so if you prefer the grid view, you can select the grid here as we have, or if you prefer list view, you will have to open it up and then you can click the grid view. Does that make sense? Or I want to make sure I didn't go too fast there.
I think your clicks or the screen changes weren't keeping up with your words.
Okay, so we can go
Can
through
you
that
just
one
do
more
it
time.
again through it a little bit more slowly?
Yeah. So let's open up our incidents. Now, by default, this is how it's going to look, right? So this is when you guys open it up, this is how it looks, correct? I guess you may not have tickets assigned to you, but this is what it'll look like. And so if I open one of these up, in this case, I'm just opening the first one up. And then in this menu bar up here, I've got this edit, I've got save. Save is currently grayed out because I've done no edits. Cancel is grayed out because I've done nothing. I can refresh the page. The delete item is unavailable. I can do attachments. I can also scroll through the records here. These side arrows here, the ones directly next to record 1 of 3, are going to go to the next record or the previous record. And the ones with the line by the greater than or less than symbol is going to go to the last record or the first record. But going into what I was mentioning is we have this list icon right here, and we also have grid right here. Does everyone see both of those? Okay.
Yes.
So if you would prefer to view things in the grid view, we can click it right here. And we can see that the view that I have now is slightly different than before. So it's more of a one line, kind of shows me it shows me the type, ID, customer name, created date, time, status, in the description. Personally, I tend to prefer this view. However, you certainly don't have to. Now, once I've selected the grid view, if I go back to my items.
Excuse me, this is Brian. I have a question on the tabs that you were selecting up here. Can you resize the columns?
Yep.
Okay. All right. And on the attachment, you said that how many attached files can you include, and is there a size limit? Because sometimes the end user will include like a video of the incident.
Sure. That's a great question. I don't have an answer off the top of my head. Let me take a note of that quick. For attachments. Okay, I've got a note of that written down. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one because I don't know that off the top of my head. But that should be easy enough to find.
JC, as a follow-up to Brian's question, is it possible to attach videos to the knowledge articles or just PDFs?
You should be able to attach. You can attach videos to the knowledge articles too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it was think about that for a moment. But yeah, we've done that at when I first learned Sharewell. My company did that fairly frequently. All right. Any other questions so far? Okay. The other thing I want to note here too, these do have filters. So you can filter down into these. You can also, if you click on them, if I want to sort by alphabetical or non-alphabetical, I can certainly do that as well. So ABC or ZYX. If I go back to my items here and I go back to my open incidents, we can see that it has kept it into the grid view. So it does, once you've done it the first time, it does keep it there. Go back to, it does keep it there for your other items as well. So now we can see I'm in my requests, and I'll do that a little slower. Before we were in my open incidents, and that's when we decided that we wanted to view it in grid view. I then went to my open service requests, and we can see that it's still in the grid view. Now, if you determine you no longer want the grid view, you can always go back to the list view and show the results in the list. It is completely a personal preference. It only sticks for your user. So if I have clicked, I want to see my results in grid, and maybe Ian doesn't want that. He wants to review his in the list format. That's just fine. Sharewell stores it per user. Now, one of the things I do want to mention too is that there is no way to change your default. So unfortunately, if everyone wants to view the results as grid, everyone has to go in and change that. That's just kind of one of those Sharewellisms. They don't give you access to change. All right. Any other questions so far?
I have a question. Is there a way to view service requests and incidents on the same page? Because I feel like maybe our users may not understand the distinction between them.
You know, that's a good question. So from a technical perspective, yes. From the way this was designed and agreed upon, that isn't the case. So that's one of those items that could it be done in the future? Absolutely. Is it done in this current one? It is not. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. The next item, I guess any other questions first before I continue on? All right. The next item here I have is the devices assigned to me. And we can see, in this case, I do have a device assigned to me. Basically what this is that there is a configuration item or a CI that has been assigned to me as the primary user. So what does that mean as a customer now? So if you utilize the CMDB, things such as your laptop or maybe peripherals or software licenses, those could be items that show up in your My Devices. So anything that you are the primary user for, and this is going to depend on, once again, going into your processes as an organization. But things that you are the primary user for will show up here. And this was just, I put in a test data. There's no information I put in other than I assigned a computer to my user so that we could take a look at it. So that's why you're not seeing anything like manufacturer model operating system. But I expect if you guys do utilize this functionality, you would see that information. All right. The Technology Leadership Council projects, These are going to be items that I assume are, there's a specific service category and subcategory that utilizes, that would then show basically, I'm assuming things that are assigned to the Technology Leadership Council. I don't have the specific information on that. I've took a look at the back end on it, and I can see that it is looking for specific service category and subcategory on it. So in this case, currently, there are no records in it, so nothing to really go into. But as we can see, this is already in a grid view. So very similar to when we look at this right here, the My Requests in a grid view, we see type, ID, customer name. We can drill down into this. It's going to look exactly the same here on the Technology Leadership Council projects for items that fit that criteria. We can see the type, ID, customer name. It's just it's a grid widget. So the next item in under My Items. So we were under My Items. Now we're going to go under My Item Service Alerts. We do have top issues. If I click on that, I can see that there is one top issue that's been pointed out here. And what top issues are going to be is they are problems that have been identified with really anything in your system that are currently being worked on. And so we can see that this one is pending a change request, and by a top problem that's going to be identified on the back end. So this is just to maintain more visibility into what are some of the problems that the service desk or IT is working on, so that maybe you've noticed something that's broken, you're not sure if the service desk is aware of it. Well, it might be in this top issues count. We also have known errors. Now, these are very similar to top issues, right? They're both problems that have been identified within some system. So in case this first one, there's a problem that the upstairs printer is broken. And so it has, once again, it has been set on the back end to be a known error. And the one thing I want to point out, I mean, this is going to be once again from a process perspective, and you're going to have this defined on your end. I assume you do already, but things that you might see as a known error versus a top issue would be a known error might be that, I mean, in this case, an upstairs printer is broken. Right, so that's a problem, right? That it's broken. People can't print to it. It could be many people that might not be able to print to it. That's something that needs to be known, but it's not. People can still do their work, right? Maybe they can use the downstairs printer instead. Maybe they don't need to print anything. So versus a top problem might be there's a network switch that's out. That needs to be replaced. So people in that area don't have access to the network. And that's something that the IT knows about. They can't do their jobs because of it, and that's why it's then been escalated to a top problem. So those are some potential options for those different items. Does that make sense? Top issue and known errors. Okay. The last item under service alerts is going to be My Subscribed. And what this is this is going to be incidents that are linked to problems. So it might be that you have an incident that's linked to a known error, or maybe a top issue. If that's the case, it's going to show up under my subscribe. So in this case, we can see that I have this incident. It is a test. It is linked to a problem. In this case, the problem is the printer in the upstairs supply closet seems to be malfunctioning. So we can see the problem that it's associated with down here. And we see that this incident is basically subscribed to this problem. So when there are new items associated with this problem, for instance, there's a workaround right here that says I can print to this printer, I can view that right away. Does that make sense? Any questions? All right.
I'm not sure I completely understand the subscription thing.
Okay. Sure. So
Just the what it means generally.
yeah. So basically, what it means is maybe in this scenario, maybe you have submitted an incident because you were trying to print to the printer in the upstairs supply closet, and you weren't able to. You're not sure why. And on the back end, your service desk agents have already determined that this has happened to multiple people. And so what they're going to do on the back end side is they're going to take their incident and they say, this is related to a known problem that exists. And on the back end, they're going to link it. You're not going to necessarily know it's related to a known problem until you see that you have something subscribed. Once you've seen something subscribed, you can see that it's then been linked to a problem that is known. That there is.
I get it. So this is like a global update based on, this is problem management.
Yeah.
And communications back to the customers. Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
That's what I wasn't clicking on.
Yeah, so it's still searching for your incident in specific, but it's allowing you to get into that problem that it's associated with.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep, of course. Any other questions so far? Okay. So on the right-hand side, we have this recently closed request, and it is a donut widget. And so you'll be able to see the requests that have been recently closed. In this case, I've only got one recently closed. I just put that in early this morning so that we had some data to look at. Now, with this and with very similar to a lot of the stuff that we've looked at, if I want to drill down into this, I can. And this will show me the specific request that was closed. This one was resolved. So very similarly, I can drill down. I can now see that these bubbles have been filled in. So we are currently in the resolve state. Here's the technician that's working on it. The closed description, in this case, we can see it was a test. So the closed description was just test close. Ideally, this will be a more detailed description of what the issue was, how it was resolved. Now with this, we can also set a filter in it. We can set this filter so that by default, it's going to be within the last month. But maybe I know that there was a ticket closed last week and I've had 50 tickets in the last month. So I just want to see tickets in the last week that have been closed. I don't care about the other ones. I just want to kind of narrow it down. Well, this is how you would do it. This is specific to this. So you can see we've got 1 month, 1 quarter, or last year. The last widget on here is going to be the announcements. Now, if we remember from back home, I believe, we also had an announcements and we had a notifications. So notifications, stuff is down. Similarly, I go back into my items. We see that this is the notifications. This is stuff is down. So it's showing the same thing as that notifications from the home page. Okay. Does the My Items, are there any additional questions on the My Items? I know there's a lot of stuff here, and it's covering both, incidents, service requests, problems, announcements, a lot of stuff going on. But it is meant to be basically, how do I view my stuff is what this page is kind of meant to be, typically. Okay. Well, last page that we have here is the knowledge articles. And these are, this is kind of really where we started. We started searching the knowledge base. The main one I want to bring up here is the most used knowledge articles. And we can see that this is driven by the likes of the, looks like the likes of the knowledge article. So this is just the number of times that knowledge articles were used. You can see this is the most one. In this case, to create multiple copies of a form field on a page. This will be dynamic. So it's dependent on what is liked, what's not liked, how often knowledge articles are attached to tickets, that kind of thing. And I know the question was before doing attachments on a knowledge article. You can't add an attachment as a portal customer, but you can as an internal user. And I apologize if I was confusing that question before. I was thinking more from an internal perspective, adding attachments, adding videos. From the internal perspective, you can add videos. You can. There's also ways to, I believe, embed and iframe videos, but it depends on what you need, and it can get tricky. So it really depends on what you need. All right. So I want to get a feeling here. How do we feel about the portal, or as far as navigating it? Do we feel comfortable? Do we feel not comfortable? If you had, and I guess let me phrase this into very specific questions. If I had a new employee coming in, how would I make a request for it? Where would I go?
A
The new employee request button.
I'm sorry, there's two people talking at once.
To the new employee request button.
To the new employee request button. Yep, that is exactly where I would go. Now, in addition, I'm going to guess that that's also somewhere in here as well. Could be employee account support. Looks like right here we have new employee setup. So submit new employee request. That'll go to the same thing. So it is, just once again, want to reiterate, there are multiple ways to get to the same thing. So my next question is, if I wanted to set up or take away someone's Sharewell access, where would I go for that?
Would it be a software
Probably go to the
request?
service catalog.
Would we
So
even have to because it's tied to your Windows login?
oh,
Network.
so I heard click the software request. We can certainly click that and see what's here. Let's see, do I see Sharewell?
Software request is requesting a new purchase of a software or installing a software on your device.
Okay. And we just need to make sure that users are aware of that as well. So in this case, someone had mentioned that they would click software request. It was not under there. So another person I heard said service catalog. So where under service catalog would I go here?
Account management.
Okay. Now where?
Sharewell account management.
Yep. And the only items I have here are add or remove account. So that's where I would need to go. And I think that brings up a great point of if you're looking for something and you can't find it in one of these quick items, you may want to check out the entire service catalog as well. And so we had said we wanted to add or remove a Sharewell account. And so because we know it's an account, it's going to probably be under account management. But I do think that's a fair point that maybe it would be a software request because Sharewell is a piece of software. So I understand how you went there. But when we went there and we couldn't find it, it's always good to then go check out the service catalog to see if there's something that might be more applicable. All right. So I want to search the knowledge base for something. Where would I go?
Either to the search above welcome to your self-service portal, or you could go to the knowledge article on the top left of the dashboard and then search within.
Awesome. Perfect. Yep. And I think that's great that you pointed both out because once again, we know in Sharewell, there's many ways to do the same thing. You can search knowledge articles right here if we know specifically what we're looking for. We just kind of want to look around and see what are the most used knowledge articles. We can also search that here.
While you're in that screen, if you scroll to the right, on mine, I have like a number in front of the filter. Do you know what that means? Like under, I'm trying to see, under likes, there's a 2, and then the one next to it, I have a 1. It says a T. I'm not sure what that T stands for right there.
Oh, sorry, let me get back to knowledge articles. Oh, so you're trying to figure out what this T stands for right there?
Well, beside it, there's a number 1. There's like a drop down, then a number 1. The same with the likes. I have a number 2 beside the, in between the filter and the L. I don't
Okay,
see
so
it on your, you don't have it on yours.
Yeah. That'd have to be something that we would look more into. Off the top of my head, I'm not 100% sure why you're seeing that. So
okay.
we can certainly Ian, I don't know if you want to take a note of that as well. If anyone else is having seeing similar things, I guess that's a great question. And so I apologize, I missed. Was it Jeffrey? Was that you that was talking?
Yes. Yeah.
So is anyone else seeing what Jeffrey sees with like a number next to likes? Okay. Okay, I can see a few people are. So Ian, that may be something that in the future that we want to take a look into. Right now, it's just a training session. I don't have any answer. I'm not sure why you're seeing that at the moment. But let's see, is Ian on? Do we know?
Yeah, I'm noting that down now.
Okay. Perfect. It's a great item to bring up for potential future state. Like I said in the beginning, it's just a training session. So there's.
I have another question. This is Brian again. Where it says most used knowledge articles, is there any way to make that window larger so there's less scrolling that has to be involved? Can you resize it? Can you expand it? Or is that a fix because it's the Sherwell default window size?
Yeah, so that's
because if
so the short answer to your question, can it be larger? From a technical perspective, yes, it can be. From can the customer make it larger? No. So that is it's fixed size. It's created from on the back end.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna.
It is weird.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jeffrey, for sharing that image. But yeah, one of the things that you have to be careful on the size is that you can make adaptive screens based on what the size of your screen is. But the thing you have to be careful of is if you make it too big and then you're working on a laptop, for instance, and you don't have an adaptive form for that, then it's going to look crazy big, and there's nothing really you can do. So it's a lot of it depends on the screen size that you're using. And for Sherwell, most of the time it's easier to use things on a bigger screen, but there's going to be times that you may have to use it on a smaller screen too, and you don't want to not be able to click on things, if that makes sense. All right. The one thing I do want to note too, that I just saw actually on Jeffrey's screenshot that we didn't go over is in the most used knowledge articles, there's a filter on it as well. And very similar to what we saw before, we can see the filters that were within the last week, within the last month, within the last quarter, or within the last year. So there are options to filter those down as well. All right. Any other questions before we continue on? All right.
I have a question which may be more for INP. Under what circumstances would we use service catalog, account management, Sharewell account management? Because my understanding is that all city users should be Sharewell users and that all INP employees should be technicians. Does that happen automatically, or do we need to request Sharewell accounts for all new INP employees and cancel their access when they leave?
That is a great question, Catherine. It should be happening automatically. Whether it is or not was something it kind of came up yesterday. So we're looking into it, but the goal would be for it to happen automatically.
Thank you.
And Sharewell does certainly have the capability to have it happen automatically. It just depends on what's been what's needed and what's requested. But it does have the capability to.
Yeah, we believe that it is. We haven't been able to verify that yet. So
certainly. All right. So, any other questions so far? I do have just a couple more items that will be pretty quick. So if you have any questions, please feel free. Okay.
If you click on the announcements where it says one drive is now set up, and then you go to the next screen. And if you hover over under the details where it says moving forward, please use, there's a, when you go towards like option here, it says control and click. There's nothing like, does that mean we tried to put a link in there, but it's just not working, or?
So let's see where, and sorry, where was the?
So if you hover over where it says option here.
Oh, right here.
You get a pop that says control and click to follow the link, but we don't. There's no physical link in there, right?
Yeah, I don't.
Is it
believe.
Is it possible to add a link, or is that just not a thing?
I am fairly certain it's definitely possible to add a link. I'm not sure why it is currently showing like that. I don't know how this one was set up. So
okay.
Without looking further into it, but yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. Just control click and then you control click and nothing happens. Great question. I apologize. I don't have an answer for that.
Okay, thank you.
Dolly, looks like your hand is raised. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I'm finally at my desk, and I apologize because I've been in and out a little bit. But when you were asking about the questions about how would you remove someone from an account, is it also possible to just do a search in the service catalog so that you don't have to remember it's account management or it's something else? Does that work?
Yep, that is a great question. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So I did a search. We can see that it's actually autofilling. And so the original question is I would like to add or remove a Sharewell account. And so now Dolly's asking if I go to the service catalog, can I just do a search and find it? Because I'm not sure. I'm going to remember it's in account management. So we've done that, done search. We can see that there is a category for Sharewell account management. So if I click on that, it brings me directly to it. So I think that's a great question and just something to definitely keep in mind. If you don't like account management, you might not think that Sharewell might be in there. Like we noticed earlier, someone thought it might be under software. We can see it is under the description, but if you're not reading every description, you might not know. And so that search just adds another level of ease to what you're trying to accomplish.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. All right, let's go back home here. Now, so I've come into the portal here. I'm on my home screen, and really, I just want to check the status of my tickets. Where would I go? What would I click?
Would it be my items at the top?
Yep. So here we can see I have the open service requests, open incidents, devices assigned to me, top issues, known errors, my subscribe recently closed. I know I have an open ticket and it was about a broken printer. Where should I click for that?
Wouldn't it be the open service requests?
So in this case, I'll pull this up. It would not be the open service request. So one thing to keep in mind when you see the word incident is something is broken. So it's your service requests are going to be things like the menu items. So I need network access, or I have a new employee, or I need a new mobile phone. And in this, we can see we don't see the my printer. So if we go back to my items, it's actually going to be under the open incidents. And we can see right here, I'm having a printer issue. And the reason is because my printer is broken for some reason. I don't need to request anything. I'm not asking for a new toner. Maybe it's broken because I got angry and smashed it with a hammer, which I don't recommend for anyone. Please don't do that. Please don't destroy office property. But for whatever the reason may be, it's not working. And so if it's broken, then it would be under the my incidents. But I think that's a valid point, though, that you're making, is if I come here to my items and I don't remember if it's a service request or an incident. One thing to keep in mind is that maybe will have to look at both of these. Is it service request and incidents? And then, like I said, the way that typically to keep it on track would be your incidents are going to be things that are just broken, versus your service requests are things that you are requesting a service, or you're requesting a asset like a computer or mobile device or something similar to that. Does that make sense? All right. All right. Well, does anyone have any additional questions?
I just want to say I think this is a great start. There are a bunch of things that I learned today that I'm super excited about. And also places for tweaks and other things. So I would ask anyone who has feedback or questions to email the ITIL team afterwards. And look forward to tomorrow. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm glad this was helpful. We will be sending out the recording, so if you don't remember everything we went over, you will have that available as well. I'm hoping it'll be done by the end of the day, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe a couple of days before it gets fully done, but it'll be quickly.
JC, this is Dolly again, just quickly, and you, at least as I've listened, you've done a very methodical and thorough walkthrough here. But is there a question or two you thought we would ask and we didn't?
It's a great question. I don't think so. I think we covered everything. I think there were a couple great questions. Dahlia, I really appreciated your question too. We did go over the search a little bit, but we hadn't searched for something extremely specific. So no, there isn't really any additional questions that I thought you might ask. But if there are any questions that you might have, we do still have another 13 minutes. So.
Thanks, JC.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this, and especially towards the end, you'll notice how I try to make sure that everyone's kind of following along, that you have this up on your screen. And really, it's going to come down to using the system. Because if you sit in this training session and you don't need to submit a ticket for 6 months down the line, what we've gone over is probably not going to be recalled as easily. So making sure that you're just going in, you're trying things, and then, as was mentioned, getting back to the ITEL team as necessary. But this is the at least the start of your service portal and your Sharewell journey.
And then maybe this is a question for our own internal team, but I did notice in the chat that people were saying that the changing of the screens in the portal was very slow. And did a lot of people have that problem?
I did not.
We've got 3 people that did. Who's the right person?
It actually was not specifically when I was clicking on another screen. It was while I was already on a screen, and then it just sort of started hanging and having the mouse wheel spinning for no apparent reason.
Okay. Sylvia, who on our team should check into that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
So there's been 3 or 4 people have raised their hand, and Catherine saying that they've had spinning, that their cursor is spinning while they're on the service portal, trying to move from screen to screen. Who should take a look at that?
I mean, we can look into it. Ian, go ahead and record that, and then we can look into it. I think, I mean, I've been hearing about the system being slow. There might be some saturations, somewhere. There's a lot of us online, so there's some things that we can look at.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Any additional questions, comments, or concerns? All right. Well, thank you all for your time. Jeffrey, did you have anything? I see this one off mute.
Nope, I'm good. Thank you, though.
Okay, perfect.
Appreciate it.
Once again, thank you all for your time. I really appreciate it, and hopefully this was helpful for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, JC. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.